Have you ever looked at your life and thought, who am I now? If you feel like you have lost yourself, you are not alone. Many women spend decades of their life being the reliable wife, the capable parent, the dutiful daughter, right? The employee that just gives her all. Just being the person that everybody counts on. And somewhere along the way, our own dreams and needs and desires get pushed to the side. The result is a quiet pain inside that says, I don't even know who I am anymore. So let me say this clearly. That feeling is not a sign of failure, but it is a sign that you are ready for more. So many people face that question when they're facing different changes in their lives. Whether you're an empty nester, or maybe there was an end to a long relationship, or you've retired after decades of being an employee, or maybe as our bodies are aging and we're going through menopause, we're facing different health issues. Sometimes we face a period of disillusionment where we realize that our life has not worked out the way that we thought it would. Today, we are not here to fix you because you're not broken, but we are here to name what is happening and to help you navigate this next chapter of your life on your own terms so you can reinvent yourself without any fear, without any self-doubt, or without any guilt. Welcome, Queen. I am Dr. Monique. I'm a life coach and I am an educator, but most importantly, I am a woman who reinvented my life after the age of 50. I took charge of my health. I went back to school, earned my doctorate, and I'm here to tell you that you can live your best life regardless of your age or your stage. Oftentimes when we have transitions in our lives, it really changes the way we see ourselves. Many of us are taught to identify with the roles that we have. Whether someone taught you this intentionally or we just learned it by living in society, many of us see ourselves as our role. Society reinforces this by tying our identity into those roles. So when a role ends or even changes, it can feel like our whole ground drops beneath us. Many of us face the question, even if we don't say it out loud, if I'm no longer that person, then who am I? This question of who am I now can show up in many different pathways. So let's talk about some of the transitions that we go through as women in our midlife. For some, it comes after a divorce or the end of a long relationship, where for so many years we were wives, and then we have to figure out, who am I if I'm not part of a couple? For others, it arrives when the children leave the home and the house becomes much quieter than expected. Our children take up so much of our time, and then they move out and we're not as needed anymore. For others, it might show up in our careers where we might feel like our career is no longer aligned with us. For others, it shows up in retirement. We're so excited about the opportunity to be able to retire, and then when it finally happens, again, who am I if I don't get up and go to work every day? For some of us, it shows up in our body as we're going through perimenopause and menopause and our hormones are fluctuating, or maybe we have some different health challenges, mood changes, our appearance changes, and that is a lot for us to really process. And sometimes it just shows up internally, where we're feeling disillusioned with life, we're feeling stuck, we're feeling like, was this all I was supposed to do on this earth? Like, I was put here for a purpose, and am I actually fulfilling my purpose? Am I maximizing my potential? Maybe we have all of these dreams that were just unfulfilled, and we're having this thought that if I don't accomplish this thing now, I will never ever get to do it. This is a very serious time. Personally, I have experienced several of these situations, but I didn't really know what was going on. But I did know that I had lived over half of my life, and I felt like I had not accomplished nearly the things that I was capable of accomplishing. And I thought about Dr. Miles Monroe, and he would often say that the graveyard is full of untapped dreams, visions, and talents. He said that we were born to release our gifts to the world, so we should live full and die empty. And I knew that the path that I was on, I would not die empty, because I had so much inside of me, so much that I wanted to give, so many gifts, so many talents. And yet I was not walking those things out. I appreciated that I got to get an income to help my family while I was even helping people while I was at work. But at the same time, I know that I was not maximizing my potential. I was not fulfilling my purpose. I didn't want to go to the grave with videos that I hadn't produced, with books that I hadn't written, with things that I hadn't said. I would like to leave a legacy for my children and my children's children. I want to be able to impact the lives of women. I got to a stage in my life where I knew that now was the time to make a change. So as women, we have traveled different paths, but for most of us, we all come to the point where we reach that same question of, who am I now? If this sounds like you, it doesn't mean that anything is wrong. It just means that something new is trying to emerge. Here are some signs that you might be entering an identity reinvention phase. You might feel a little bit restless. Even if your life looks fine on the outside, you just have a sense that things are not going the way that they should. Maybe you've noticed a lack of motivation. Maybe you just don't identify with this person that you used to be. Or maybe your future seems unclear. You might feel invisible. You might feel like you're not useful anymore. Or you might feel like you have all of this wisdom, all of this knowledge, or all of these talents, and you don't have anyone to share them with. And often there's a growing desire for more of a sense of meaning. So you don't just want to have different activities. You want to know that you are making a difference in someone's life, or in your community, or just in the world. For many women in this phase, it would be very wise to do some inner work, to journal, to pray, to find out what it is that is bothering you and what is it that you really want to do. And you might be drawn to do something new, but you don't quite know what it is yet. But you just know that something needs to change. And maybe you spend your time just kind of daydreaming and fantasizing about how you can just start everything early. So let me tell you this right now. Don't just blow your whole life up abruptly without thinking it through. However, you do need to acknowledge and address those feelings. Your feelings are important. Your feelings are valid. So ask yourself, what makes me feel alive? When do I feel most like myself? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? And as you ask yourself these questions, your values will help you decide what your next chapter is. Remember, if you are in the middle of a transition, hear me clearly. You are not behind. Reinvention is not a sign of failure. This is not the end. This is just a reset. You get to write the next chapter of your life. Your wisdom is an asset. Your lived experiences, they are strengths. And if you do decide to make a change in your career or move to a new city or whatever you decide, you're not starting from scratch. You are allowed to choose yourself without guilt. Here's a reframe that changes everything. Identity is not fixed. Just because you were one person 20 years ago doesn't mean you are the same exact person now. Your identity is evolving, and you are allowed to redefine what success means to you. We're going from faith to faith, from glory to glory. You're also allowed to redefine what joy means to you. So what makes you happy this year may not be the same thing that made you happy last year or 20 years ago. You are allowed to redefine and to reconnect with your purpose. So you are here for a purpose, you are put on the earth for a purpose, but there are different seasons. There was a time where I felt like my primary purpose was to just be here for my family, for my children. But like I said, my children are adults. The hallmark of successfully parenting children is that they don't need you like that anymore. But at the same time, what does that do to a person whose identity was grounded in being a mom? We have to have other things that we can do. If you have been part of a couple, I had been part of a couple for 25 years. And then once I went through a divorce, like, what is this? So again, who am I? Who am I if I'm not somebody's wife? There's the reinvention that has to happen. You are allowed to redefine what success means to you. Even if you look like you are a success to everybody else, if you don't feel successful, then you get to make some different decisions. So if that means that you go back to school, I chose to go back to school in my 50s. And I'm not saying that you have to, but for some people, they may want to go back to school. They may want to change careers, right? Maybe they were focusing on making money in their career, and now they want to focus on helping people. They may want to start a nonprofit. What is it that you want to do? What is success for you? You get to redefine joy. I went through a period, right, in 2022, where my theme for the year was I choose joy. I had to find out how to be happy again. I do know that in God's presence there is fullness of joy, right? So part of it was spending time with God, and part of it was just really reconnecting with myself. What makes me happy? What puts a smile on my face? What are those things that maybe I like to do as a child or as a young adult that once I got married and had kids and had all these responsibilities that I forgot that I liked? There are things in my life that I had forgotten that I even like to do. This is a different season of your life, and this season is not about proving anything to anybody. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What transitions are you navigating right now? I've already shared a video on how to heal and begin after divorce. I've shared videos about how to get unstuck after 40. I have a whole Reinvention playlist that I suggest that you watch and really listen to. I'm going to have more coming on menopause and empty nesting. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of this life-changing information. Watch the next video, and I will see you next time. Be blessed.